from the Papery Craftery.
I'm Bridget.
And
Poppy.
We are back this week to share one of my favorite projects. We're going to be making quilling paper succulents this week. And these are fun because since they're paper, they last even longer than the real succulents do. So let's get started. Not a lot of steps to this one, but you're going to need a lot of paper. The paper I'm using for this project is the 1/8 inch soft green from Craft Harbor. I'm also going to be using a battery operated quilling tool. You don't have to use one of these, but it might come in handy because we're going to be rolling a lot of paper. I also have a needle tool and some white glue and a ruler. A nice long one. If you have an 18-inch ruler, that would be helpful. That's what this is. But some of these strips are going to get pretty long, so you're going to need something to measure. What I'm going to be doing for this succulent is to be making a lot of rows of different size leaves. And to do that, I'm going to be needing to glue some quilling strips end to end to make them much longer. So just to demonstrate how I do that, I usually tear both ends off when I'm gluing strips together, just so I don't have to worry about which end is going to lay smoother, because, you know, torn ends lay smoother with quilling. So I tear the ends off just a tiny bit, and then I'm going to just overlap with some glue right on the end, press it for a minute, and that's just going to make a much longer quilling strip. And once you have some glue together, you can start measuring out how long your strips need to be for these leaves. I'm going to leave the exact dimensions down below, and I'm also going to link to the original blog post that had all of these dimensions in them, because it's a lot of information for me to just say right now. But the one I'm rolling here, I'm measuring that long strip I made, measuring it to 34 inches, and then I can start rolling it. And again, I'm going to be using a automatic or a battery operated quilling tool here. There are definitely pros and cons to using these. They're not helpful in every situation, but when I'm rolling a whole lot, and especially really long strips, I just find it handy just to pulse it a little bit instead of holding that button down. And then I use a needle tool to get underneath of it to get it off of the end there. So this is, like I said, 34 inches of quilling paper, and rolled it up into a tight coil, a little bit of glue on the end, and seal that. And that's just one of the many leaves we're going to be using for these succulents. So here are the 5 layers of strips in different sizes. The first one was 34 inches, then 51, then 85 inches, then 119 inches, and then back down a smaller one to 68 inches. Again, I'll leave all this down below, and I'll also link to the article. And we made 3 of each of those sizes. So once you have all of your coils made, you're going to start forming them. So to do that, I'm going to start with the smallest ones at first. It's going to be the very inside of the succulent, and this is the only one that's going to be made exactly like this. Make sort of a dome, and this one we're going to be pinching both sides. So just a little bit of a dome there, and then pinch both sides. Use a little bit of glue around the inside and brush that through. And the other 2 leaves of that same size are going to be formed the same way. So you can see here, this time I pinched it first, oops, and then made the dome second. Either way is fine. You just want to be careful not to push too far, because then you'll lose your shape. It'll pop right out the other side, all your paper. So a little bit of glue, brush it out to keep the shape, and move on to the third one. rest of the succulent leaves are going to be formed just a little bit differently. First, you're going to do a small dome, and then this time we're only pinching one side. So it's more of a teardrop with sort of a dome in the back. And you can push this out, push it back in. I would avoid pushing it out too far, especially the entire side. Sometimes I push it out a little bit further on the top and then push it back in a little bit in the bottom. But when in doubt, make it more of a shallow push. And then as just the other ones, some glue and brush it out. You're going to do that same exact formation on all of the other coils for the rest of the leaves. So now I am showing all of the succulent leaves. I had the small ones where I pinched both sides, and then they get a little bit larger, and then the last row again is a little bit smaller, and I'll show you why as I start putting it together. So we're going to start putting together the succulent with the center first, and that's going to be the 3 smallest leaves. I'm going to overlap them all just like I'm showing here, and to have them stay together you can use some white glue, but it's going to take a long time to hold them all together to get them to stay. I'm going to be using some of Aleene's tacky glue, and I just like that because it keeps things together pretty quickly, but it's not immediate, so you still have some wiggle room if you have to move things around a little bit. So I'm showing here, I accidentally put that glue on the outside of that one, which I didn't mean to. Sometimes glue's on the outside, sometimes it's on the inside. This might kind of like putting together a puzzle a little bit. So that's how it should look. And I'm going to put a little dab of glue on the bottom here and smooth that over just to make sure that everything sort of stays together. This is going to be on the bottom, nobody's going to see that part. So that's the very center of the succulent right there. And then the rest of the leaves are going to go on pretty much the same way. So I got the next layer, which was the 51-inch strips, and a little bit of glue on the bottom, and then I'm going to place it pretty much where the 2 leaves before that meet. So you can kind of see it not on top directly behind one, it's where two of them meet, and I'm going to do the same thing all the way around. So a little bit of glue on the next one, and might as well do them all holding the glue, and then they're going to go just like the first one right where the 2 leaves on the layer before are touching. And then the next layer, this is the 85-inch strips. They're going to get between 2 of the leaves in the layer before that. And at this point, your succulent sort of going to start standing up pretty well on its own, and that is what's going to give it that succulent shape. And then this is the really big leaves. These are the ones that were 119 inches long. And a little bit of glue on the bottom and a little bit on the sides as well. And then they are going to get placed just like the 2 layers before between the leaves. And then go ahead and put on those smaller last layer. These are the 68-inch leaves. They're just going to get tucked under the big leaves in the layer before, and this is going to help two things. It's going to help it so that your succulent sort of lays flat again, it doesn't tip around, and also it's good because without it your succulent's going to sort of look like a triangle. This kind of rounds it all out, and this is why I use tacky glue, because I can sort of move it around just a hair if I need to. It's not set immediately. Move everything around a little bit. Without it, these succulents sort of look like a triangle, so that's why that last layer is really important. There you have a succulent once it's all dry. It's actually pretty sturdy, and I wanted to show the underneath there just so you could see how everything was layered. And you can do these in different colors. I really like that pale purple there. It's the color called Orchid, which is really pretty. Dark green, pale green, they do come in all different shades. There you have quilling paper succulents. If you have any comments, leave them down below. I'd love to hear them. I'd love to hear how you're planning on using these. Maybe in a big bouquet, maybe just one on its own. I've put them in actual real little terracotta pots before with some moss, and that makes a really sweet little gift. Don't forget to like and subscribe as always, and we will see you next time with another tutorial. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.